Good evening, everyone. So, this is not quite the end of the conference, but it's the end of the official part of the conference, I suppose. We've still got a lot of things happening over the next few days, and I hope you join us for those. But we have a few things that we'd like to say just in passing. So, it's kind of the end of the official part of the conference, so we have to say the official announcements. We try to keep PyCon Australia accessible to as many people as possible from as many diverse backgrounds as possible. We wouldn't be able to run the conference to the standards that we do without the help of our professional ticket holders, our contributors, and of course, our sponsors. Our platinum sponsor, Red Hat. Our other platinum sponsor, Eventbrite. And I would personally like to thank them for the 5-minute talk they gave this morning, a good technical MIDI subject that we could all enjoy and get some use out of. Our gold sponsors, Google, Arnet, and Netbox Blue. And our standard sponsors, the Python Software Foundation, the Django Software Foundation, New Relic, Source Labs, Anchor Systems, Mozilla, Connectix, Rackspace, HP, the New South Wales Rural Doctors Network, Qualcomm, Biari Commercial Mathematics, and Info Exchange. Our in-kind sponsors. Our in-kind sponsors are those that do a lot of stuff in the background for us and make a lot of things happen. Two Scoops Press, Humbug, O'Reilly Media, Tronix Labs, Cabo Creative, The Edge, and to all of our contributors as well. PyCon Australia is an event of Linux Australia, who provide the legal framework and financial support to make this event take place. Linux Australia do all the stuff that a conference needs to do in order to run, but they do it in such a way that I don't have to do it every year. And if you're interested in running an open source conference, there are a couple of Linux Australia folks here, and they're good people to get in contact with. So making our conference accessible to a diverse variety of attendees is one of the defining points of our community. This includes diversity of economic backgrounds. This year, we have offered upwards of $10,000 in financial assistance to delegates who could not otherwise afford to attend. In particular, we'd like to thank Eventbrite, New Relic, and the Python Software Foundation for donating sponsor tickets to our financial assistance pool. PyCon Australia, PyCon Australia is not the only Python or open source software event taking place in the next 12 months or so. Linux Australia runs a lot of events, a lot of other groups run a lot of open source events, and we just want to run over a few of those that you might be interested in now. So we have the National Computer Science Challenge. Registrations are now open. It starts tomorrow, so I guess maybe you could do that at the sprints. Yeah, and we've seen from our first keynote the awesome work that is going on there. So I'd encourage anyone who's got high school students who are interested in this sort of stuff to pop along to that. Oh, this is cheating a bit. We've already had a slide from them. I've been to 3 Kiwi Parklands, I think, and they've all been really good. Particularly for us on the east coast of Australia. Pop along, it's a great weekend, you'll learn a lot and you'll love it, except that it's so cold. OSDC down at the Gold Coast this year, 4th to the 7th of November. Registrations are open soon, and I think the call for papers is currently open. So later on next year, January, the mothership, MiniConf AU in New Zealand. Registration's open soon. Call for paper has ended, but the conference will be gearing up very shortly. This is one that I attended earlier this year, PyCon in America, Canada specifically. America versus the USA, folks. The 8th to the 6th of April.
US and Canada.
Yeah. Like 4,500 people. Okay. Way too many people for me. This thing's never going to get that big. It won't happen. I won't let it. Financial assistance is available. So if you would like to get along and you think that you'll get something out of it, they have an enormous financial assistance program available. Put your name in the ring and you never know what's going to happen. Here in Brisbane, we have a couple of user groups that have been really important to making this event happen. We've got Humbug, which is our small typo in the slides there. It's a local Unix group, which means more than Linux these days. All of the local organisers are from Humbug. That's where the idea for running this event came from. We meet fortnightly at UQ. We are quite an active group. We do a lot of things. We organise far too many conferences for my liking. And yeah, we're there for people who want to learn how to do stuff with open source tools. BrisPy, which is a much smaller conference that I organise on a fortnightly basis. We have a special meeting, since we're all here. We've got a special meeting tomorrow night during the sprints at the evening. So head along to meetup.com, look for the Brisbane Python user group and sign up for that. There are other user groups nationwide. So for those who have travelled from Sydney, Melbourne and Perth, you have some quite good user groups. I'm on all of the mailing lists and they're quite active and they have quite interesting talks all the time. So there's still more stuff to go after the official stuff. So tomorrow we've got the sprints. We've got 2 days of sprints. They're in this building, but in another room. So right to the top of the building in S1. So we're expecting about 100 people on Monday and about 80 people on Tuesday. Videos are being encoded as we speak. So barring anything that I don't know about, I think that every talk has been successfully recorded and is now being encoded and uploaded. So they'll be up in the next couple of days. And that is the YouTube account that they'll be available from. And I would like to give just a quick shout out to my video team, who's done an enormous amount of work. When you put a bid in for PyCon to run PyCon Australia, the way that we're currently doing that is that you put a bid in for 2 years in a row. And the idea is that the first year it crushes you, and then the next year you crush it. So we are going to be doing it again in Brisbane next year, roughly the same time, roughly the same place, we hope. I'd like to bring on Chris now, who's the Linux Australia representative, and he'll be the one who will help decide the bids.
So we have another year here in Brisbane next year, but currently we do not have a host city for 2016 and 2017, and we'd really like for this conference to continue on. So with that in mind, if you are from a city in Australia, there's quite a few that we haven't been to yet. Melbourne would be fantastic, Canberra, Adelaide, any of those. if you know people, form a group. Perhaps Perth as well. Yay! There's quite a few of you here. I'm sorry for missing you out. Perhaps you don't know some people. If you don't know people who might perhaps form a group, send an email to contact@pycon-au.org and we can perhaps introduce you to some people to help form a bid team in your home city. Myself and Richard Jones, who are on the PyCon AU Linux Australia committee, will be happy to answer any questions that you might have about running a PyCon Australia. We think this is a great event to run, and we'd love to see as many expressions of interest as possible so we can get the best possible continuation of this conference. And back to you, Clinton.
I'd just like to add to that there's a lot of experienced people who've run PyCon before, and they're very ready and willing and able to help you run the event. So you're not just going out there into the void to run an event. Any questions that you've got, they'll be able to answer it. So you are not on your own in any way, shape or form. So, you know, you're running this sort of event, and there are a ton of people who do a lot of work which make the event possible. And I've got a few special shout-outs to a few people. And, you know, if you're not on this list, it doesn't mean you haven't worked your butt off. It just means that I've forgotten you. Nicole Harris from Kabu Creative. Nicole is our graphics and design person. The reason that the website looks as good as it does and the graphics are consistent is all down to Nicole. Nicole unfortunately couldn't make the conference, so we wanted to give her a special shout out. She has been absolutely fantastic to work with. Really quick turnaround time on all the graphics requests. I worked with her on the kernel model of putting in a bad patch and letting someone else get disgusted by it and fix it. So I'd upload my crappy graphics and she would fix it up beautifully, instantly. So Nicole has been absolutely a foundation element of this conference, and it's a great pity that she couldn't be here for it. So I'd just like to give her a quick round of applause. Kate and Neil Davenport. They have been designing our awesome T-shirts since 2011. And we like the T-shirts a lot, and we want to keep that sort of consistent look going, so we're hoping to keep them on. We've kept some of the T-shirts aside for them as a bit of a small gift, but we really like their work, so thank you very much for that. And there are folks out there who will run a little conference. They're too clever to run a full-size conference, so they'll run a MiniConf. So DjangoCon was run by Russell. The Science and Data MiniConf was Ed and Graham. And the OpenStack conference was Joshua and Robert. Now, they had to deal with a fairly grumpy conference organiser, and they managed to keep their cool much better than I kept my cool. They've pulled up some great talks. There was a lot of really good content that I saw going by in the live stream. And I really hope that we get to see those mini-conferences again. So I'd really like to give them thanks. So Richard Jones and the program committee. Like a big chunk of organising the conference is done by these guys. You get your website set up so that you can accept submissions. You hand them off to Richard, and a couple of weeks later you come back with a program. Couldn't be easier. And yeah. So we've got a paper committee that we keep. We keep the same members from year to year as much as possible. It means that we know who the good speakers are. We know who the possibly not so good speakers are. So we've got some record of that. We know what to look for in a good talk. We know what levels. Sorry, when I'm saying we, I'm saying the program committee, not me. the program committee knows what papers are going to be good papers, who are the good presenters. This year we've had almost 100 submissions, and they needed to fit into just 40 slots. So there's a lot of argy-bargy with that, and looking at them, looking at all the submissions from different angles and trying to work out which of those is best. So yeah, a big thank you to the entire program committee, because they made probably one of the toughest jobs of running the conference, and I gave them one input and I got one output, and it was smooth as silk. So thanks very much for that. Volunteers. So the entire conference is run by volunteers. Having said that though, there are certain volunteers who come on board and they're given specific small tasks, and one of the things that I care greatly about is looking after the volunteers, making sure that they're not asked to do anything more than we've requested of them, making sure that they're not asked to do something that we haven't trained them up in, not putting them in uncomfortable positions. And that for me is really important. And this year we have had a bunch of volunteers come in, do the jobs that were requested of them, and then really step up and offer so much more to the conference than we ever asked of them. So Kim and Lee for stepping up way beyond what they were asked for with the AV team. Tam McKenzie, who was our diversity officer, who unfortunately couldn't make it to the weekend event, but she did a lot of work making sure that our conference is diverse as it currently is. Lachlan for being a champion organiser of the electronics workshop. I pretty much dumped some electronics on his desk the day before the workshop, and we had the following day a workshop. And I'd also like to thank Anna Gerber, who was the facilitator on the day for that, and they were both awesome. And the stewards. This is where things get a little bit more difficult. So we have 3 stewards in the organising committee, and if I've got one suggestion for future years, don't have that many family members in the organising group. So we have Russell Stewart, who's my second in charge, and he is our numbers man primarily, and he keeps me in line. We have Cheryl Stewart, his wife, and she has been running the rego desk. And we have Ryan, who's our volunteers coordinator. Now, those 3 have been a little bit iffy at certain times, but all 3 of them together makes things run really smoothly. So I'd like to thank that triumvirate if I could.
Now, it goes without saying that that undertaking a conference of this size is quite a strain on the time that you have. It's a really hard job. It's often thankless. And this year, we have one person who really stepped up to help make this whole event happen, and that is Clinton Roy. Could you please join me in thanking him?
Where's Russell?
Come on down here, Russell. I can see you up there.
At least half of this should be for Russell. I just can't spot him.
Everyone thank Russell Stewart in the top corner back there as well.
So here ends the formal part of the conference. Thank you all for coming. I hope you've had a good time. I hope you've made use of the suggestion box. If you come up with any ideas for how we can improve things and things we can add, apart from being more organised, that's kind of a general thing. we were really good up until about 4 weeks out, and then I kind of collectively lost my basket. So, except for the sprints tomorrow and the Django workshop, and I think the PyLadies breakfast tomorrow as well. Is that right, Elena? That was today, sorry. Yeah, find a time machine, go back. So apart from those extra events, see you all next year, I hope. Thank you very much.